The story behind League of Legends. Episode 3, Races in Runeterra, Part 2. Iceborn. The Iceborn are a nearly extinct humanoid race that inhabit Freljord, the last known survivor being Lissandra. History. The Iceborn were a powerful group of people who lived in the Freljord centuries ago. As explained by Lissandra, ancient people who lived in Freljord were visited by mysterious entities known as the Frozen Watchers. The Watchers were beings of great power and knowledge. They made these people immortal and gave them powerful magic in exchange for their servitude, dubbing them Iceborn. Lissandra was known as the Seeker, who served as the mediator between the two factions, passing orders from the Watchers to the Iceborn. After some time, two Iceborn leaders, Lissandra's sisters, Avarosa, Ash's ancestor, and Serylda, Setuani's ancestor, started a rebellion against the Watchers. Tired of their slave-like status, Lissandra, however, remained loyal to the Watchers and is still serving them to this day. On a fateful day, Avarosa's Iceborn horde had their final battle against the Watchers on what is now known as the Howling Abyss. In the end, the Watchers were defeated and thrown into the abyss, supposedly killing them. However, according to Lissandra and suggested by Gregor and Light, they are very much alive, and making their way back onto the surface. After the defeat of the Watchers, the Iceborn had a legendary war, known as the War of the Three Sisters, where Avarosa, Serylda and Lissandra battled for control over the Freljord. The war eventually ended with no victor and Avarosa assassinated by Lissandra, but the tribes continued to have skirmishes over the ages. The Iceborn later on likely became extinct. The majority killed in the rebellion against the Watchers and the War of the Three Sisters. And with no Watchers to uprise people into Iceborn, the race dwindled quickly, leaving their place to normal human descendants. The Watchers and the war are now only remembered almost as fairy tales, and are likely happened several thousand of years ago. To this day, there is only one known living Iceborn, the Ice Witch, Lissandra, who has carefully hidden her identity by killing and taking the place of her own successors. Gregor, the shopkeeper in the Howling Abyss, is a deceased Iceborn. He was killed by Avarosa so that his spirit will serve as the eternal guardian of the Howling Abyss and advisor should the Watchers return. Braum is speculated to be an Iceborn, as his lore makes him ageless, to the point that tales about him happened more than 5 generations ago, and incredibly strong. Traits that would qualify him as an Iceborn. If true, he has evaded the attention or corruption of Lissandra, who may or may not be aware of his race, for a long time. Biology. Humanoid in appearance, one of their common features are their pale blue skin that depict them as if they were frozen in ice. Iceborn do not die of old age, nor do they physically age. However, Iceborn do not have self-healing abilities like the Darken, which makes them vulnerable just as any human to physical injuries. They can control and manipulate ice while also having the ability to manipulate their appearance at will. This is evidenced in Lissandra's ability to take other person's identities and Gregor's abnormally huge and disproportionate body. Lissandra has the ability to sense her surroundings to perfection. It has been speculated that she uses temperature or ice near her to do this. She developed this technique to be functional as she is blind, but it is not known if the ancient Iceborn had this ability. Trivia. Lissandra lost her sight to an Ursine several millennia ago and is still blind today. No humans have been observed to manipulate ice. While Ash and Setuani are shown to control ice, it is more likely that they draw this power from their true ice weapons rather than from their Iceborn heritage. On any case, other creatures such as Yetis and elementals, like Anivia, are known to control and manipulate ice. The Iceborn are the first known users of true ice, and likely their discoverers or creators. The Iceborn are among the most powerful entities portrayed in the League of Legends universe, being comparable to other ancient races such as the Ascended, Frozen Watchers and Darken. Watchers and Iceborn share some similarities with the White Walkers from the A Song of Ice and Fire series. All of them are ice-related and all signal the return of winter. Watcher. The Watchers, also known as the Frozen Watchers, are ancient beings who once presided in the Freljord. They were responsible for transforming Freljord native humans into a new race known as the Iceborn, who would later rebel against the Watchers' rule. The Howling Abyss was built for the Watchers by the Iceborn, in addition to many structures across the Freljord, which now lie in ruins. History: creating the Iceborn. The Watchers' origins are unknown, as Lissandra, the only living Iceborn, states even she does not know where they came from. The Watchers were immensely powerful, and transformed humans of the Freljord into the immortal Iceborn. The Iceborn were given great gifts, magic and immortality in return for their eternal loyalty. They conquered for the Watchers and built them a great civilization, including the bridge and fortress looming over the Howling Abyss, which eventually amassed into an enormous empire. Their mouthpiece was the Seeker, Lissandra, who was, and still is fervently loyal to them. Fall of the Watchers. Avarosa, believing that their servitude to the Watchers was no different to being their slaves, led the Iceborn in rebellion against the Watchers. This culminated into a long bloody battle across the bridge known as the Howling Abyss. Countless Iceborn were killed, but they eventually won the battle, throwing the Watchers over the side of the bridge, howling into the abyss, giving the bridge its name, and paving the way for the Iceborn to rule Freljord. Erased from history. While many believed the Watchers were dead, Lissandra did not believe it so. In the midst of the Iceborn civil war known as the War of the Three Sisters, Lissandra killed Avarosa, corrupted a tribe known as the Frost Guard, and set about purging any history relating to the Watchers' reign from memory and historical records in preparation for their return. She still actively works to bring them back to the world. Biology. The Watchers are a Cyclopean, Yeti-like race. They are adorned with a pair of ice-like horns and an unusually protruding neck head which has numerous limbs attached to it, possibly growing during maturity. They are mostly covered in thick white fur, more accustomed to the cold environments of the Freljord. They have front legs which gives them plenty of upper-lower body strength. Trivia. Cyclopean statues litter the bridge crossing the Howling Abyss. The monsters carved into the rock look like nothing that the world has seen. Ner was attacked by a creature resembling the Watchers in ancient times. Bard's promo, The Wonder from Above, was the first proper depiction of a Watcher shown as a constellation in the night sky. Prior to the reveal of Vel'Koz's lore, there was a popular theory that Vel'Koz was one of the Frozen Watchers, due to visual similarities and a literal interpretation of Lissandra's quote, "The Watchers were sent howling into the abyss." It was confirmed that Vel'Koz specifically is not one of Lissandra's Watchers, although a connection between the Watchers and the Void was left up in the air. The constellation of the Frozen Watchers, in the northern hemisphere of Runeterra, signalizes the end of the autumn harvest and the beginning of winter. The Eye of the Watchers was created in the image of the Frozen Watchers, and most likely dates back to the time of their reign. Marai. The Marai are water dwellers residing in the Guardian Sea. A sentient species resembling a mix between humans and fish, the Marai are capable of withstanding enormous pressures of the Great Deep and being able to live in salt and fresh waters. The Marai rely heavily on moonstones, powerful objects found only on the surface world, which light-altering properties help the Marai ward off larger predators that reside in the deeps. The stone's powers lasts only 100 years and is the sacred duty of the Tadecalers to acquire these objects. Before its light fades, the Tadecaler must journey into the Great Deep, retrieve an abyssal pearl, and carry it to the surface. There, on the night of the winter solstice of the 100th year, the Tadecaler makes a ceremonial exchange with a landwalker bearing a moonstone. By trading the pearl for the moonstone, the Tadecaler ensures the survival of the Marai for another century. The current Tadecaler, Nami, is desperately searching for a moonstone to help her people. Another sea-dwelling race exists that holds some biological connection to Yordles. Fizz, the titled trickster, belongs to this race, but his appearance on the surface is due to the disappearance of his species. Not even Fizz knows where his people have gone. Minotaurs. Enormous humanoid bovines, They lived in great tribes within the Great Barrier and are quite noble and valorous in their ways. The Minotaurs have suffered greatly from the cruelty of the Noxian war machine, with many of them having been enslaved and forced to fight as gladiators in the brutal Noxian event known as the Fleshing. Alistar, the Minotaur, is a survivor of this game and seeks to protect his people from tyrannical dangers such as Noxus. Trolls. Grotesque, dim-witted creatures that inhabit the Freljord. Most are blue-skinned and live in tribes. Lately, they have begun preparing for war, rallying under the banner of Trundle, the Troll King. Undead. Abominable creatures, created when the barrier between life and death is shattered and defiled. They predominantly reside in the Shadow Isles, but their influence and manifestations have reached Valoran's shores over the past decades. Ursine. A race of Freljordian bears who are strong, honorable, and most notably stand upright. The Ursine lived in seclusion for many years before the reign of Volibear began. Thanks to a vision from the sacred storm the Ursine revere, Volibear was able to see a future where his kind were driven to extinction, and so roused his people from their complacency to prepare for war. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to share video and subscribe us channel.